Listen carefully, because what I'm about to say is not meant for everyone. It was never written in your school books. It will never be taught in your universities. It's whispered only in bloodlines that have ruled for centuries, hidden in symbols etched into the stone of cathedrals, and sealed in financial contracts you were never meant to see. There's a reason they say, the devil always collects his debt. Because long before you were born, long before your father or grandfather breathed air, a deal was signed, a covenant, a pact, not with fire and brimstone, but with ink, gold, and blood. A pact between kings, priests, and financiers. And from that day forward, the world itself has been nothing more than collateral. You think your money is yours, that the numbers in your account mean freedom. But money is not freedom. It is the leash. It was engineered to enslave, not to liberate. Every bill in your wallet, every coin in your pocket is stamped with the signature of ownership. Not yours, but theirs. You were born into a cage where the bars are invisible, but the lock is iron. And you, like billions of others, wake up every morning thinking you are free, when in reality you are paying rent to powers you cannot see. Do you know why they call it a bank? Because it comes from the word banco, the bench where medieval moneylenders sat, controlling kingdoms with ledgers instead of swords. The warrior with the sharpest blade could conquer land, but the man with the sharpest pen could own the conqueror. And so, the Devil's Bank was born. Wars were not fought for glory, they were fought for debt. Kings borrowed gold from bankers, and when they couldn't repay, they surrendered land, resources, and the blood of their people. Every soldier marched not for flag or honor, but as payment. Every coffin lowered into the ground was interest collected on a loan. And the people? The people were tricked into thinking it was patriotism. They gave their sons, their sweat, their lives, never realizing they were just pawns in a centuries-old balance sheet. But here is the most twisted part. It wasn't only gold that was collateral, it was souls. The Devil's Bank learned early that men can be broken with chains, but they can be enslaved forever with belief. Religion, politics, education, all became tools of finance. Cathedrals were not just houses of worship. They were vaults, not just of gold, but of human obedience. Every sermon whispered of sin and redemption, while the collection plate ensured the flock would forever pay tribute. And tell me this, why do you think interest is called interest? Because once you sign, once you agree, the system takes an interest in you. It binds you, it tracks you, it watches. Your entire life becomes collateral. Your work, your time, your children's time. The loan never ends, it simply rolls into the next generation. That's why they call it a national debt. You didn't borrow it, you never agreed to it, yet you will bleed to pay it. Do you think it's an accident that your birth certificate is issued like a bond? That your social security number is tracked like an asset? That your taxes are collected not for your benefit but as tribute? No. These were signatures written into the Devil's ledger. You were never a citizen, you were collateral. The Devil's Bank doesn't operate in shadows anymore. It sits in plain sight, carved into the very architecture of your cities. Obelisks pointing skyward, all-seeing eyes on your currency, Latin mottos whispering ancient truths only the initiated understand. They mock you by hiding the truth in the open. Because they know most men will never look, and the few who do will be too afraid to speak. You want to know the real reason you feel restless at night? The reason your gut tells you something is wrong, even when the world insists everything is fine? It's because deep inside you know the truth. Your signature was taken before you were old enough to write. You've already signed with the Devil's Bank. Every time you work, every time you pay, every time you obey, you reaffirm the pact. And yet, there is one thing they fear: awareness. Because once a man sees the chains, he cannot pretend they don't exist. Once a man realizes his debt is not to be repaid with coins, but with obedience, he begins to ask dangerous questions. So now I'll ask you, are you willing to see what's on the next page? Are you prepared to hear the truth that will make it impossible to ever go back to sleep? Because the story doesn't end with kings and bankers. It doesn't end with governments or wars. It goes deeper, into psychological control systems, into institutions that manipulate your very perception of reality. The devil's bank doesn't just want your money. It wants your mind. And the moment you see how they engineered obedience at the level of thought, you'll understand why this knowledge has been forbidden for centuries. If you felt the weight pressing on your chest while listening to this, it's not your imagination. It's the pull of a truth that has been buried for too long. Stay here, because what comes next is not history. It is the living present, and once you hear it, you will never unhear it. You've taken the first step. You've seen the ledger, the contracts, the hidden hand that signs the world into debt. But the deeper truth is darker. Because the devil's bank does not just collect gold, land, or flesh. It collects belief, and belief is the most valuable currency ever forged. Understand this: men will fight for money, they will die for land, but they will obey for belief. If you can engineer what a man believes, you own him. And that is where the bank became something more than financial. It became psychological. Look at history. Every empire has fallen. Every king has rotted in his grave. Every government has collapsed into dust. But the bank? The bank survives. Why? Why billions labor day after day, generation after generation, chasing dreams that were never theirs to begin with? It is the perfect control system, and you were born inside of it. But here's the paradox. Once you see it, once you name it, once you recognize it, you break the spell. Because no contract is unbreakable if the debtor refuses consent. And that is the knowledge they fear above all. So let me give you a key. Not a slogan, not a brand, not a motivational cliché, but a symbol that those who know will understand. If you are still here, if your blood is stirring and your mind refuses to look away, then write this in the comments right now. Twice, not once. Twice. The phrase is this: chains into ash. Do it. Because writing it is not just for the algorithm, it is an initiation. It is a mark of identity. The moment you declare it, you are no longer just a viewer. You are stepping into awareness. You are telling the devil's bank that you see the chains and you will not kneel. Now ask yourself, who benefits from your silence? Who profits when you obey without question? Why do the same families hold power century after century while the rest of the world spins in chaos? It is because the devil's bank is not just an institution. It is a bloodline. And every signature signed, every debt created, every war funded has been carefully calculated to serve that bloodline. You were born into their game, but you do not have to die in it. The moment you stop believing in the illusions they crafted, the moment you stop trading your life for empty symbols, the moment you reclaim your will, you fracture the spell. And when enough men fracture it, the entire structure begins to crumble. They will call you dangerous. They will call you insane. They will call you a conspiracy theorist, a radical, a threat. But understand, those words are nothing more than weapons designed to keep you in line. Every man who has ever broken chains has been called the same. And here is the final truth I will leave you with tonight. The devil's bank is eternal only if you believe it is. But once you see the cracks, once you realize the emperor has no clothes, once you take back your will, then the devil's bank is nothing more than paper, paper that burns. Remember this: you were not born to be collateral. You were not born to be a debtor. You were not born to kneel. You were born to see. You were born to break. You were born to turn chains into ash. And the next time you hold that dollar in your hand, the next time you see that symbol staring back at you, I want you to ask one question. Not, what can I buy with this? But, what did I sell to get this? Because once you ask that, you'll never see money the same way again. And that is when your transformation begins. Because it doesn't fight wars. It funds both sides. It doesn't crown rulers, it writes their debts. And it doesn't argue over truth, it manufactures it. When a child is born, he does not question. His mind is a blank ledger, and the first signatures written into him come from institutions, the schools, the churches, the media. Each one stamps beliefs into his psyche, what to fear, what to worship, what to chase, what to avoid. By the time he reaches manhood, he is already a debtor, not in coin, but in thought. Think of your education. Were you ever taught how money is created? No. Were you ever shown how banks multiply wealth out of nothing? No. Were you ever told that the very taxes you pay flow upward, not into your communities, but into the coffers of the financial elite? Of course not. Instead, you were taught to pledge allegiance, to memorize dates, to repeat slogans, to obey bells and schedules like livestock. That was no accident. That was conditioning. And here's the most sinister part. Control is not maintained through force. It is maintained through consent. But it is not true consent. It is engineered consent. They give you the illusion of choice, between parties, between products, between ideologies, yet every path leads back to the same owners. The Devil's Bank doesn't care who you vote for, what side you take, or what slogans you shout. It only cares that you remain divided, distracted, and indebted. Now look at the symbols. The pyramid on your dollar bill, the all-seeing eye, the Latin phrases etched into government seals. These are not decorative. They are signatures, marks of ownership, talismans of psychological dominance. When you carry money, you are not holding freedom, you are holding a ritual object, a binding contract disguised as currency. And here's what no one dares to tell you. Money itself is an illusion. It is numbers on a screen, backed by nothing but belief. Once upon a time, coins carried weight in gold or silver. But today, your wealth is digits created with a keystroke, multiplied in banking systems you'll never touch. You are trading your life, your hours, your sweat, for symbols that vanish at the stroke of a key. And they laugh. They laugh because you cling to it, you kill for it, you beg for it, never realizing it is just smoke and mirrors. But listen carefully, because this is where most men break. The system is not just financial, it is spiritual. When you are trained to obey, when you are taught to see yourself as powerless, when you are conditioned to kneel before false authorities, you are paying a spiritual tax. Your will is the real currency, and the Devil's Bank is designed to drain it from you until you no longer remember you had it. This is why entire civilizations go to war with smiles on their faces, why people burn each other at the stake in the name of gods they never met.